for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Now, Venerable Buddhananda Mahathero will recite from the Holy Tripitaka.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa buddhang saranang gacchami dhammang saranang gacchami sanghang saranang gacchami সেই ভগবান অরহৎ সম্যক সম্বুদ্ধকে বন্দনা জানিয়ে বুদ্ধ ধর্ম সংঘের শরণ নিয়ে শুরু করছি পবিত্র ত্রিপিটক পাঠ। সাব্বা পাপাচ্চায়া কারণং কুশলাচ্চায়োপসম্পদা সাচিত্ত পরিউদাপানাং এতাং বুদ্ধানুশাসনাং। সকল প্রকার পাপ কর্ম হতে বিরত থেকো, কুশল কর্ম সম্পাদন করো এবং নিজের চিত্তকে পবিত্র নির্মল পরিশুদ্ধ রেখো। বিশ্ব শান্তি বিরাজ করুক, ইহাই বুদ্ধির অনুশাসন। ডু গুড অ্যান্ড বি গুড, not to do any evil, to cultivate good, to purify one's mind. May peace prevails on earth. This is the teaching of Lord Buddha.
Thank you, Mr. Mahathero. Distinguished guests, may I now invite you to kindly enjoy the theme song of the World Peace Conference, followed by an audio visual on the conference.
শান্তি সবচেয়ে দামি, যারা ভালোবাসে তারাই শান্তি কামী। আমরা মানুষ, একটাই পরিচয়, ঘৃণা হানাহানি আমাদের ভাষা নয়, আর কিছু নয়। শান্তি সবচেয়ে দামি, যারা ভালোবাসে তারাই শান্তি কামী। আমরা গান্ধী, লুথার, ম্যান্ডেলা, মুজিবুর, সারা পৃথিবীতে শান্তি কণ্ঠস্বর। সবার স্বপ্ন এক প্রাণে গেছে মিশে, শান্তির দূত শেখ মুজিবের দেশে। সবার স্বপ্ন এক প্রাণে গেছে মিশে, সবার স্বপ্ন এক প্রাণে গেছে মিশে। বঙ্গবন্ধুর বিজয়ী বাংলাদেশে জ্যোৎস্না ও সুবাতাসে, যুদ্ধ চাই না ঘৃণা করি সন্ত্রাসে। চলো হেঁটে আসি জ্যোৎস্না ও সুবাতাসে, যুদ্ধ চাই না ঘৃণা করি সন্ত্রাসে। মুছে দিতে চাই গুলি ও বোমার ক্ষত, আকাশে উড়ুক কবুতর অবিরত। জাতি ধর্মের ভেদাভেদ মুছে দিতে হাত ধরো সবে গাও মৈত্রীর গান সবার উপরে মানুষ সত্য বলো এই হোক মহামানবের জয়গান এই হোক মহামানবের জয়গান এই হোক মহামানবের জয়গান
এমন এক বিশ্ব ব্যবস্থা গঠনে বাঙালি জাতি উৎসর্গীকৃত যে ব্যবস্থায় সকল মানুষের শান্তি ও ন্যায় বিচার লাভের আকাঙ্ক্ষা প্রতিতৃপ্ত হবে।
The father of the nation of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, gained this conviction through his own lifelong political struggle. As a young student leader, he risked his life to maintain communal harmony and peace. Later, in the 23 years of East Pakistan's existence, Sheikh Mujib's fight for democracy led him to being incarcerated for 4,682 days. In 1969, during a popular uprising, he was given the title Bangabandhu, Friend of Bengal. In 1970 general election, Bangabandhu led the Bangladesh Awami League to a landslide victory. In the face of Pakistan regime's refusal to transfer power, he gave the historic speech on 7th March 1971, which is now included in UNESCO's Memories of the World International Register.
এবারে সংগ্রাম আমাদের মুক্তির সংগ্রাম, এবারে সংগ্রাম স্বাধীনতার সংগ্রাম।
In spite of Bangabandhu's steadfast efforts to continue dialogue, the Pakistan Army unleashed a genocidal campaign at midnight, March 25th. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman proclaimed the independence of Bangladesh in the early hours of March 26. Through the tragic loss of 3 million lives over 9 months, Bangladesh became an independent nation. Bangabandhu returned to a free, independent Bangladesh on 10th January 1972. Bangabandhu placed peace at the center of his foreign policy, underpinned by the motto, "Friendship to all, malice to none." During the 3.5 years in office, he spread his message of peace internationally and emerged as a global statesman. Bangabandhu sent humanitarian mission during the Arab-Israel War in 1973 and presided over historic laws and treaties for land and maritime boundaries delimitation in South Asia. The World Peace Council recognized his signature contributions by awarding him the Julio Curie Peace Prize. But on 15th August 1975, Bangabandhu, along with 18 members of his family, was brutally assassinated. In 1981, Bangladesh Awami League nominated Sheikh Hasina, the elder of Bangabandhu's 2 surviving daughters, as its president, and she returned home from exile to continue her father's legacy. On 23rd June 1996, she was elected as Prime Minister. The same year, Sheikh Hasina presided over the signing of a groundbreaking 30 years Ganges-Padma water-sharing treaty with India. In December 1997, Sheikh Hasina concluded the Chittagong Hill Tracts Peace Accord, ending a 2-decade-long armed conflict in southeastern Bangladesh. Under her leadership, Bangladesh spearheaded the UN Resolution on Culture of Peace, led the efforts towards disarmament and non-proliferation in South Asia, signed major international human rights treaties, and served as an elected member of UN Security Council, playing a leading role in adopting Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security. In 2009, Sheikh Hasina returned to office with a popular mandate to build a peaceful and inclusive digital Bangladesh by 2021. Since then, she has been globally recognized for her fight against climate change and terrorism and continued her commitment towards social inclusion and justice. Under Sheikh Hasina's leadership, Bangladesh has concluded Bangabandhu's initiative to resolve maritime boundary issues with neighboring countries, completed their land border delimitation as well as exchanged enclaved and adjunct land territories with India, and has become one of the top contributors to UN peacekeeping operations. In August 2017, Sheikh Hasina courageously opened Bangladesh borders to forcibly displaced Myanmar nationals, the Rohingyas. The daughter of Bangabandhu, the founding father of Bangladesh, has herself become Mother of Humanity. Bangladesh deservedly celebrates the legacy of peace and freedom of its transformative political leadership at the 50th anniversary of its independence, when the whole nation is also celebrating the birth centenary of the father of the nation. It is indeed time for Bangladesh
into the International Sign Language.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor and pleasure to invite on the podium His Excellency Mr. Muhammad Shahriar Alam, MP, Honorable State Minister for Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh, to deliver the welcome remarks.
Honorable Prime Minister, daughter of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, Chief Guest of the closing ceremony of the World Peace Conference, Honorable Speaker, Dr. Shirin Sharmin Chaudhary, Chair of the Organizing Committee of the World Peace Conference, Excellency Ms. Irina Bokova, ex-DG UNESCO, Excellency Mr. Gordon Brown, ex-Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Excellency Mr. Goh Chok Tong, ex-Prime Minister of Singapore, Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen MP, Honorable Foreign Minister, Honorable Minister for Education, Dr. Deepu Moni MP, Honorable Member of Parliament, leaders of different political parties, member of the Diplomatic Corps accredited to Bangladesh, distinguished participants of the World Peace Conference, members of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. This is how we all Muslims address others. This is very Arabic means, peace be upon you. Our Hindu brothers end their holy verses chanting Om Shanti thrice, invoking for peace. Buddhists say, Sabbe Satta Sukhita Bhavantu, meaning, may all beings in the world live in peace. Christians recite to every deceased, may his soul rest in peace. Ahimsa, or peace, is the key virtue of all world religions. As you all gathered by now, we have hosted World Peace Conference 2021 at a time when we are celebrating the birth centenary of Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the golden jubilee of our independence. Moreover, we have come to know that Bangladesh has satisfied the United Nations in 2 subsequent triennial review towards graduation from LDC. Before I begin, allow me to start by paying my deepest homage to our Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, 3 million martyrs who sacrificed their lives, and 200,000 mothers and sisters who sacrificed their honor for our independence, and members of Bangabandhu's family who were brutally assassinated on 15 August 1975. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, peace is a constant process of sustainable development and social well-being than a static state of tranquility. It is never the absence of conflicts only. It is the prevalence of justice, human dignity, and rights prevailing inclusively in the society. This is what our Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur, so to ensure justice in the society, while Bangabandhu released thousands of arrestees in a general amnesty, as no grave criminal charges were filed against them under Collaborator Order 1972 immediately after our War of Liberation. He also authorized International Crime Act 1973 to investigate and prosecute the persons responsible for genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and other crimes under international law committed in 1971. His unfinished work was undertaken by his able daughter, our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, to end the culture of impunity forever. Bangabandhu always stood by the oppressed of the world and strongly demanded justice for them, irrespective of their nationalities, at all his international appearances. His innate ideology in empowering people, protecting human rights, ensuring socio-economic freedom, and establishing democracy and peace turns him from Bangabandhu, meaning friends of Bengal, into Bishwabandhu, or the friends of the world. His legacy continued. Sheltering 1 million Rohingya in Bangladesh, his daughter, Mother of Humanity, has saved the world from a human catastrophe and thereafter continued to seek accountability and justice and their safe, dignified, sustainable return to their homeland in Myanmar. Bangladesh has witnessed a paradigm shift in terms of socio-economic and development trajectory, which indicates Bangladesh is marching forward towards becoming a prosperous country. At present, we are the largest troop contributor in UN peacekeeping operations, a development miracle, and now a harbinger of advancing peace through social inclusion. This has been endorsed through a practical experiences and as well as by many, but in particular sharing by the distinguished delegates of Uzbekistan, Ambassador Surat Mir Kashimov. He visited Bangladesh 56 years ago and saw a country of poor and distressed people. And now he has failed to match what he saw in last 48 hours and what now he experienced. Distinguished delegates, today I also feel myself privileged to come across another 2 delegates whose ancestors were very close ally of Bangabandhu. One of them is Mr. Javed Ahmed Qazi from Pakistan. He is the son of late Qazi Fayaz Muhammad, Senior Vice President of All Pakistan Awami League. He was elected as Secretary of Bangabandhu's Awami League in Sindh. The other delegate is Mr. Pirzada Muhammad Amin. His grandfather, late Aminul Hasnat, known as Pir of Manki Sharif, was the first president of Awami Muslim League. He was also with Bangabandhu at the Asia and Pacific Rim Peace Conference in Beijing, China, way back in September 1952. I also take the opportunity to thank you all participating at the World Peace Conference 2021. My sincere thanks go to 20 panelists and all other speakers who engaged in excellent discussions and presentation at 4 panel discussions. They joined us in person and virtually from different parts of the world, despite the challenges of time zones. We have already circulated among you a 16-point Dhaka declaration, resembling 16 December, our Victory Day, in a couple of days. It will be adopted today by Honorable Speaker, the chair of today's session. I also convey my thanks to participants of the 4 universities with whom we hosted activation seminars to include the youth in the peace process, and to the players of the friendly cricket match we arranged. My wholehearted thanks are for the famous artists, along with the differently able children in particular, who joined our art camp yesterday and came up with fantastic art pieces on peace motifs. Last but not the least, this morning we had the opportunity to listen to Her Excellency Ms. Saima Wazid, Member Secretary of the Organizing Committee of the World Peace Conference 2021. It was her idea to bring the concept of social inclusion as an inseparable element of our pursuit of peace, inclusive, holistic, and sustainable. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with these words, once again, I thank you all for joining us. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu. May Bangladesh live forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable State Minister for Foreign Affairs. Distinguished guests, now I have the honor to invite on the podium Ambassador Hussein Haqqani, Director for South and Central Asia, Hudson Institute, Washington, D.C., to deliver his remarks.
Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Honorable Speaker of the Bangladesh Parliament, Honorable Foreign Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege for me to speak at the World Peace Conference here in Dhaka, marking the 50th anniversary of the liberation of Bangladesh and the birth centenary of the founding father of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. We are living in a time of great international interdependence and considerable international turmoil. It is a moment when commitment of nations to democracy and human rights is backsliding. The post-Second World War international order is under threat due to numerous conflicts, and the specter looms of the world being divided into blocks of nations once again. It is important at times like these to remind everyone that peace is the most important prerequisite for human progress and prosperity. Justice, inclusion, and tolerance are the prerequisites for peace. Towards that goal, this conference, held within the limitations imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, will hopefully catalyze serious discussion among intellectuals and activists of the challenges faced by our world today. The issues deliberated by us over the last 2 days are too complex to be resolved through a single conference or exchange of ideas. But Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, must be commended for initiating the dialogue by bringing us all together. Bangladesh achieved liberation amid violence and genocide imposed on its people. Its achievements over the last 50 years offer a model for other nations struggling for the rights of their peoples. In 1975, New York Times had described Bangladesh as, and I quote, possibly the most underfed and overcrowded country in the world. Floods, drought, the devastation of war, a woefully inept bureaucracy, and widespread corruption have interlocked to leave the nation of 75 million people in misery. Unquote. That was in 1975. Today, Bangladesh has one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Its literacy rate, which was a meager 17% at the time of independence in 1971, has risen to over 72%. Bangladesh has a higher literacy rate than its South Asian neighbors, India, Pakistan, and Nepal. It also has higher female participation in the workforce than its neighbors. Its human development indicators are much better than others in South Asia. In March this year, The Economist had noted that 50 years after independence, Bangladesh's income per person has surpassed Pakistan and is approaching India's. Before the pandemic, economic growth exceeded 7% for 4 years in a row, outpacing not just Pakistan and India, but even China. In the words of The Economist, and I quote, Bangladeshis are not just vastly wealthier, but healthier and better educated too. Some 98% of Bangladeshi children finish primary school, compared with less than a third during the early 1980s. Literacy has soared. Infant mortality has plunged. In all these respects, Bangladesh is doing better than both Pakistan and India. Unquote. The reason why I cite the comparison with India and Pakistan is because until 1947, Bangladesh was part of India, and until 1971, it was part of Pakistan. So the fact that it has achieved so much more after independence is definitely a tribute to the founding father of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The success of Bangladesh is the result of the wisdom, foresight, and vision of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina is an unusual daughter of a great father. Not every son or daughter whose parents are taken away from them by conspiracies and violence are able to transform their grief into a plan of action that fulfills the vision of their parent. I congratulate the Prime Minister of Bangladesh for having followed in the footsteps of her illustrious father, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Today, thanks to the ideas of the father and the actions of the daughter, Bangladesh is the only South Asian country that has not become involved in a violent conflict inside or on its borders since independence. Let me say a few words about Bangabandhu, whom I had the opportunity of seeing only once when I was about 14 years old during his last public visit to Pakistan during the Awami League election campaign of 1970. I admired him while listening to him at his rally in Nishtar Park in Karachi, where he actually pleaded for justice and fairness and democracy and the rights of the people of both West and then East Pakistan. Bangabandhu's life was synonymous with the idea of Bengali nationhood. Like other similar great leaders, Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela, he spent 1/5 of his life in jail as part of his struggle for his beliefs and cause. He has been described as the greatest Bengali of all time, but I would argue that he is one of the greatest political leaders to emerge out of the South Asian subcontinent. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman spent only 6 days in prison during British colonial rule, which he opposed as a young man. But after the departure of the British from the subcontinent in 1947, he was arrested 22 times by Pakistani authorities, spending a cumulative almost 10 years in prison out of 24 years until the independence of Bangladesh in 1971. There is a lesson here. European colonizers and the West are not the only oppressors that threaten the rights of the people in the third world. Authoritarian indigenous rulers can sometimes be worse oppressors and a greater threat to the rights of people and to peace and justice. Bangabandhu's support for religious tolerance, his insistence on including the people in decision-making, and his struggle for the historic cultural identity of his people makes him a hero to many outside Bangladesh. And as someone born in Pakistan, let me say that those with a secular orientation in Pakistan consider Bangabandhu a hero of all peoples of South Asia, not just of Bangladesh. Bangladesh should continue to advance Bangabandhu's ideas in our troubled world. As a man of the people, Bangabandhu defended the rights not only of his supporters, but also of his critics and opponents. In pursuit of his vision, Bangladesh must continue along the path of democracy, social inclusion, individual freedom, and political pluralism. Bangabandhu embraced non-violence as his ideology. Upon release from Pakistan's prison, soon after the liberation of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman called for immediate withdrawal of India's army, which had intervened to help the people of Bangladesh against genocide. He even established diplomatic relations with Pakistan, hoping for reconciliation between former oppressor and oppressed. Bangabandhu opposed reprisals against anyone and called only for prosecution of war criminals. Pursuing war criminals through international tribunals is an important element of justice, and it is likely to deter the recurrence of war crimes. Had Bangabandhu lived, I am certain he would have supported the idea, supported by some of us in Pakistan, for a formal apology from Pakistan for the tragedy inflicted on the people of Bangladesh during their war of independence. This demand has the support of everyone who believes that collective apologies help to heal wounds and enable nations to deal with past wrongdoing. I join all the delegates here in wishing peace and prosperity for the people of Bangladesh and express our thanks to Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina for the warm hospitality that has been extended to us here. Let us all continue with our efforts to continue to change the world for the better. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, you are aware that we are honored to remain virtually connected with a number of distinguished dignitaries from different corners of the world on the eve of the World Peace Conference hosted by Bangladesh as a part of its celebrations of the birth centenary of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the golden jubilee of the independence of Bangladesh. Due to current pandemic situation, they could not be present amongst us physically, but their virtual presence has inspired us profoundly.
Dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, now I have the honor to invite Her Excellency Ms. Irina Bokova, former Director General, UNESCO, to deliver her remarks.
Her Excellency, Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me enormous pleasure to participate in this auspicious World Peace Conference, advancing peace through social inclusion, and to congratulate Bangladesh for this initiative, because I believe its recent history and the present-day developments shows that there is no peace without respect for human dignity, without justice, without social inclusion, without sustainable development. There are several reasons for me to be delighted to be with you today. The first one is that I'm extremely honored to be a member of the International Honorary Committee to celebrate the 100th birthday anniversary of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. It was only the global pandemic that prevented me from taking part personally in many of the events, but it did not prevent me from continuing to express my deep respect and admiration for his historic legacy of leading a nation to self-determination, independence, and to take so many world peace initiatives. And the second reason is that I'm very proud that one of my last decisions as Director General of UNESCO in October 2017 was the inscription of the historic 7th March speech of the Father of the Nation on the register of UNESCO Program of Memory of the World. This, I believe, was an important decision, as the Memory of the World is the only such major international program and repository of historic documents, recognizing their global and historic importance, transcending borders, nations, and political divides. Every nation has in its history moments of glory and of pride that stays in the people's memory forever and is passed from one generation to the other as a symbol of courage and a quest for freedom and for peace. For the people of Bangladesh, this moment was the 7th March and the passionate and inspiring speech of the father of the nation. Let me also share something important in my mind. If it is inscribed on the UNESCO's Register of the Memory of the World program, it is because this speech represents an example for the world of how to fight for independence, dignity, and human rights. And I firmly believe it still inspires millions of people, not only of Bangladesh, but outside its borders, and educates young people to be relentless in their aspirations for peace, freedom, and human dignity. I believe equally that this speech has inspired many of the positive political and economic developments in Bangladesh under the able leadership of the Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, to whom I would like to pay a special tribute and express my deep respect. It is under her committed leadership that Bangladesh became one of the countries that has made the most rapid progress on the Human Development Index recognized by the United Nations, reaching out to the marginalized, improving and investing in quality of education, strengthening research on ocean science and biodiversity, and integrating cultural policies into sustainable development. And last September, the United Nations General Assembly has adopted a resolution graduating Bangladesh from a least developed country to a developing country in recognition of its efforts to achieve sustainable development goals, albeit the challenges of the COVID-19 global pandemic. An impressive decrease in the poverty rate, investing in equity and quality of education, skills and infrastructure and new technologies. In one word, investing in the people of Bangladesh. The current Bangladesh and the country an era ago are not the same. Today's Bangladesh is a changed Bangladesh. These are the words that Her Excellency Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina pronounced when this decision was taken. And as someone who has followed and supported this development, I can only congratulate her leadership and the people of Bangladesh with this achievement. Thank you for your attention, and I am very much looking at the outcome of this important conference that puts the strong link between peace, social inclusion, and sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Now, I have the honor to invite you to watch a recorded message from His Excellency Mr. Gordon Brown, former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
It's a privilege to speak at the World Peace Conference in honor of the path to peace that was so persuasively set out in previous years by the father of the Bangladesh nation, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and whose dream of peace and non-violence has influenced the entire world. And it's a privilege to speak, even if on video, alongside the Honourable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, whose record of achievement is not just the empowerment of girls and women and the empowerment of the disabled in the pursuit of the sustainable development goals we all share, but also the achievement as a world leader of a culture of peace as a precondition of justice. For the world needs to awaken to the multiple threats to peace and stability the Prime Minister has warned of. Let me first talk about peace itself and the failure to sign new nuclear arms agreements as China, Russia, and America build up more sophisticated arsenals of weapons. There is a risk that other countries in the Middle East, for example, and elsewhere seek now to become nuclear weapon states. And I share the worry expressed by George Shultz, the American Secretary of State, before his death, that as nuclear weapons proliferate, they have lost their dread. And that is one reason why President Biden has proposed, but so far made little progress in preventing nuclear proliferation. He has ambitious plans to ban nuclear testing and the enrichment of uranium, to agree policies for no first use of nuclear weapons and for single use, and these should be supported. But you know, there's an even more ever-present risk as cyber and AI-led weapons create enhanced capacity to strike opponents. AI weapons which don't just select targets, but devise strategies without human intervention and thus make lethal decisions autonomously and multiply the risks of accidents and disasters. Unlike the arrangements for diffusing tensions between America and Russia, where nuclear weapons are involved, there is no hotline, there are no agreement for fail-safe mechanisms, no early warning systems, and because of the sophistication of artificial intelligence systems, a diminished time gap between decision and action. We urgently need cooperation starting with dialogue. And I know this is what Bangladesh wants. We should not wait for a crisis to begin the conversations to update the Reagan-Gorbachev doctrine that such wars cannot be won and should not be fought. It should start with a clear agreement that no artificial intelligence weapons will ever be fired autonomously. You know, in the last 3 decades, Sweden, South Africa, Libya, and Syria have rejected becoming nuclear weapon states. Ukraine possessed nuclear weapons after the Soviet Union collapsed and has, like them, given them up and remain non-nuclear states. So nuclear disarmament is possible and is not just a dream, and we support the efforts of Bangladesh.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
A burden share was agreed upon, even if it proved inadequate. But today there seems no possibility of burden sharing, even when confronting a problem deemed existential. We have to do more. We know that in recent years, despite all the arguments across the world and all the difficulties, we have managed to sign arms control agreements. We have addressed the ozone layer. We dealt with debt relief in Africa. We did all of this by cooperation, as we did by signing a Paris Accord on climate change. Let 2022 be a year when we recognize the enduring truth that peace and justice must go together, that as humans, we don't just cooperate out of need, we have a human need to cooperate, and that prosperity to be sustained has to be shared and has to be shared across every part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I have the honor to invite on the podium His Excellency Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen, MP, Honorable Foreign Minister of Bangladesh, to deliver his remarks.
Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Speaker of the Parliament, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. The theme song of the conference perfectly captures the pivotal principle of the global peace, and it says, and I quote, "We are human beings. Hate and conflict cannot be our path. Let us wipe out the bullets and bombs from the face of the earth." Unquote. Excellencies, at the very outset, I'd like to thank you all for your wholehearted participation in the World Peace Conference in Dhaka. Your presence and participation demonstrate your strong conviction to a peaceful and prosperous world. Over the past 2 days, around 20 hours deliberation with the participation of over 100 participants from over 50 countries, we had open and productive exchange of ideas. The 4 panels and 2 special sessions provoked numerous thoughts culminating in the Dhaka Peace Declaration. The participants represented different regions, culture, and diverse background. They carried with them varied perspective on peace. However, the string of humanity binds them together, and many suggested to organize such conference each year. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me share a few points that came up during the deliberations. First, peace entails not only the mere absence of conflict or war, rather, it embraces a wide range of issues such as education, poverty alleviation, women empowerment, tolerance, mutual respect, inclusion, and so on. Our delegate from Greece, Professor Dr. Dimitros Vasiliers, who translated Bangabandhu's unfinished memoirs in Greek, commented, and I quote, "Bangladesh is the global model of tolerance," unquote. Second, we need to remember that all wars and violence start in the human mind and are driven by a mindset that thrives on hatred and intolerance. The resolution of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, titled Culture of Peace, aims at breaking those barriers and to create a mindset of respect for others, irrespective of religion, ethnicity, color, or race, for a sustainable world of peace. Third, Honorable Speaker of Bangladesh Parliament and the President of the conference very eloquently presented that peace becomes elusive when only 1% wealthy people of the world hold 43.5% of the global wealth. The $1 trillion expenditure on weapons that only destroy and cannot create threatens the whole notion of peace. Fourth, the rising confrontations, intolerance, exclusions are producing more unrest, endangering global peace. The ruthless persecution of Rohingya from Myanmar or the horrific episode of the Palestinian people are warning bells that we must address the issue of intolerance and atrocities in a holistic manner right now. Fifth, the pandemic and the climate crisis have emerged as new threats to the global peace and security, redefining the whole peace discourse. The pandemic has significantly intensified social and economic inequalities. Former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has rightly pointed out how the vaccine divide is creating deep divisions among countries. Sixth, Secretary General of the conference, Ms. Saima Wajed Hussain stated, and I quote, Bangabandhu's major focus was on social justice. And Bangabandhu observed that peace can be achieved through fairness, justice, and equity, unquote. To achieve peace, she argued, to uphold the rights of the disadvantaged. Professor Karen Jungblunt, a delegate from USA, a German origin, who collected 55,000 testimonies of victims, emphasized universal values so that the atrocities do not occur yet again. If such values could be inbuilt in human mind, then no soldier or person will lift weapons to take another man's life. Distinguished delegates, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman said, and I quote, whether Bengali or non-Bengali, Hindu or Muslim, all are our brothers, and it is our responsibility to ensure their safety, unquote. This is the conviction that our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, so ardently pursued. This vision for peace inspired him to devote entire life for the services of the toiling masses at great personal sacrifice. Holding high ideals of peace, Bangladesh, with another champion of peace, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, able daughter of the father of the nation, is strongly pursuing a path of peace. She is pursuing the policy of Bangabandhu, friendship to all, malice towards none. Her people-centric inclusive policies have ensured every citizen's inclusion in the economic and social development, and her call that no one is left behind has been accepted in the UN SDG framework. Under the guidance of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Bangladesh pioneered a resolution on culture of peace and another on people's empowerment, a peace-centric development model, which were unanimously adopted by all the UN member states to promote peace through social inclusion and development. Our strong commitment to peace and humanity encourages us to stand for the persecuted Myanmar nationals. Like many other countries, Bangladesh could have turned its back and remained insensitive. Such indifference, however, is alien to our psyche. As the crisis lingers, the desperation of these forcibly displaced people of Myanmar increases, jeopardizing the peace and security of the entire region. Distinguished guests, Dr. Martin Luther King once said, and I quote, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do it," unquote. Let's lit up the power of the love in every heart and create a mindset of tolerance. Let the message of peace, which this conference has generated, help construct a defense of peace in every mind. I thank you all. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu. May Bangladesh live forever.
Thank you, Honorable Foreign Minister. Distinguished guests, now I have the honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency Mr. Goh Chok Tong, former Prime Minister of Singapore, to deliver his remarks.
Thank you. Your Excellency Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me to speak at the inaugural World Peace Conference. Singapore extends our warmest congratulations to the people of Bangladesh on its 50th year of independence. The World Peace Conference is an apt tribute to cap off the celebration of the centennial birth anniversary of Bangladesh's founding father, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The conference highlights his ideals of democracy, empowerment, and poverty reduction. Singapore was the first ASEAN country to recognize Bangladesh in 1972. Our ties have grown since then. I visited Bangladesh as Prime Minister in 2004 and acquired a better understanding of its aspirations and challenges. Next year, our two countries will be celebrating the 50th anniversary of the establishment of bilateral relations. Beyond political interactions, a key focus of our relationship is economic collaboration. Many Singapore companies have invested in Bangladesh, especially in the energy, agri-processing, and infrastructure sectors. Bangladesh is well positioned to be a gateway between South Asia and Southeast Asia. Singapore's PSA International has been working closely with the Chittagong Port Authority and other partners on the Bay Terminal project at Chittagong. This container terminal, when implemented, will enable Bangladesh to capitalize on its favorable geographical location. It will increase the flow of goods through Bangladesh. Today, I would like to highlight three global issues that relate to the theme of advancing peace through social inclusion. First, the COVID-19 pandemic. It is not just a global health crisis which has disrupted our economy and lives. It is also a severe stress test of global cooperation, national governance, and the resilience of our economies and societies. The pandemic has had the greatest impact on the vulnerable. They find it more difficult to cope with health and economic challenges than those who are better resourced. They need to be helped and supported, that is, socially included. Countries may differ in their societal makeup, whether in terms of ethnicity, religion, language, or politics. But the underlying mission of all governments must be the same: inclusive progress. The fruits of economic growth must be shared equitably. To reduce income inequality and political discontent, we must improve social mobility. This applies not just within countries, but also between countries. To advance world peace, there must be a multilateral cooperation to generate and spread growth. Otherwise, economic migrants from poorer countries will flow unabated to richer countries. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the supply chain of critical products. Many countries are onshoring the production of these products for national security reasons and subsidizing these industries heavily. This reconfiguration of supply chains and trade patterns will have a further adverse impact on emerging economies. The second global challenge is climate change. It is an existential threat for mankind. Low-lying countries like Singapore and Bangladesh are particularly vulnerable. Rising sea levels and changing weather patterns will disrupt our lives and livelihoods. As is the case with COVID-19, the most vulnerable countries and the most vulnerable within countries will suffer disproportionately. It is critical to maintain the momentum from the recently concluded COP26 and turn pledges into action. Green energy is more expensive, at least in the foreseeable future, but we must remain firm in a commitment to transition to clean energy. Here, Singapore companies have collaborated with Bangladesh to build and operate a 50-megawatt solar power plant in Mymensingh, about 100 kilometers north of Dhaka. The third global issue that stands in the way of world peace is also the one that I'm most worried about. COVID-19 and climate change are exogenous events, but geopolitical power rivalry is endogenous in global governance. It is also a fact of life since time immemorial. The US-China relationship defines the policy space for all national governments to operate in an interconnected global economy. Unfortunately, there is a trust deficit between them. The US is ideological on advancing democracy and championing human rights outside their own country. China sees this as an American strategy to contain its growth. They are distrustful of each other's long-term intentions. The more China grows, the narrower the economic, technological, and military gap between China and the US will become. The narrower the gap is, the more the US will take actions and rally allies to deal with real or perceived threats posed by a superpower, China. Any clash between these two superpowers will be disastrous, particularly for Asia. It will derail Asia's effort to achieve peace and prosperity for its people. Are we helpless bystanders? No. We can be the voice of reason, the voice of moderation. We must reinvigorate multilateral and regional collaboration in pursuit of shared peace and prosperity. Let us voice our desire and support for a stable, rules-based multilateral world order. Here, Singapore and Bangladesh share common principles and positions. We collaborate well at international and regional fora. Bangladesh is a member of the ASEAN Regional Forum. Singapore welcomes your interests in becoming a sectorial dialogue partner of ASEAN. We are members of the Asia-Euro meeting. Singapore also welcomes Bangladesh's chairmanship of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, which Singapore is a member of. We can be the voice of cooperation and peace. We can let the superpowers know where we stand and the peace, prosperity, and social inclusion we seek. Hence, Singapore's support for the World Peace Conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Excellencies, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I have the honor to invite on the podium Her Excellency Dr. Shireen Sharmin Chowdhury, Honorable Speaker of Bangladesh Parliament and Chair of the Organizing Committee of the World Peace Conference, to deliver her remarks.
Honorable Prime Minister of the Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh, Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, Chief Guest of World Peace Conference, Mr. Abdul Momen, Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Shahriar Alam, Honorable State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh, Her Excellency Irina Bokova, former Director, UNESCO, Mr. Gordon Brown, former Prime Minister, United Kingdom, former Prime Minister of Singapore, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Parliamentarians, distinguished delegates, media representatives, members of Diplomatic Corps, respected guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, Shubho Bikal. In the month of victory, December, as we celebrate the golden jubilee of our independence of Bangladesh and birth centenary of Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu, I pay tribute to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the greatest Bengali of all times. I pay my respect to all martyrs and all mothers and sisters for their sacrifice in 1971 War of Independence. I also want to thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh, and all the members of the Organizing Committee and Member Secretary, Saima Wajed of World Peace Conference, for their support and the excellent arrangements made in this conference. Distinguished delegates, I am honored to be present here at the closing ceremony of Dhaka World Peace Conference 2021. It is a great honor for all of us to have Honorable Prime Minister, Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, with us this afternoon. Let me once again take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to Honorable Prime Minister and all the distinguished delegates for their participation and making this event a success. I would like to specially thank the honorable delegates who have traveled a long way to come and join the conference here in Bangladesh. The presence and participation of all distinguished delegates in this high-level event is a clear testimony of their staunch commitment to promoting peace. In 2 days-long different sessions, the leaders engaged in lively and vibrant deliberations. They have made commitments to take forward the global agenda of attaining peace in a sustainable manner and advance peace through social inclusion. While peace is an innate aspiration of all human beings, it is also the essential bedrock of sustainable development. Deliberations have highlighted that factors of poverty, inequality, discrimination, disparity, and exploitation that create divides among people and nations have to be addressed. There has been a general consensus among all delegates of this conference that humankind at present is witnessing a surge in discrimination, conflict, hatred, and stigma. It is therefore the sheer responsibility of the global citizens to promote universal solidarity for building a peaceful, non-violent, and sustainable world. A brief recapitulation of the discussions that went on for 2-day-long conference. Ms. Irina Victoria Missimino stressed the need for unity and inclusion and modernization of legal structures to materialize ethos of peace and justice. Professor Mr. Mohammad Saad stressed on creating a generation that believes in peace. Dr. Mikiko emphasized the need for education of human rights and justice for young minds. Professor Imtiaz recommended taking small actions at local levels to execute peace. He urged to analyze Bangabandhu's understanding of culture of peace. The panelists called attention to Rohingya crisis, the Middle East and Palestinian crisis, fair share of vaccination, immediate adaptation and mitigation of climate change, and other global issues essential for sustainable peace. All discussions have been very well reflected in Dhaka Peace Declaration 2021. Excellencies, our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, an ardent proponent of peace, struggled all his life to free the people from poverty, inequality, and exploitation. Sheikh Mujib's notion of peace was embedded in political and economic emancipation of his people. Bangladesh is proud to carry the legacy of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman as a beacon for all peace and freedom-loving people around the world. Mujib's philosophy of peace will be the guiding pole star. Bangladesh will march forward under the visionary leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, a champion of promoting culture of peace. Her People's Empowerment and Development Model, proposed to UN in 2011 and adopted by consensus by Committee of Nations, is a sterling example of her enduring commitment to global peace. After ongoing intense discussion, the outcome document, the Dhaka Peace Declaration 2021, containing valuable inputs of all distinguished participants, have been captured in 16 paragraphs, signifying our Victory Day celebration of 16th December, and thereby reflects a broad-based consensus. It is concluded with the following commitment. And I quote, para 16 of the declaration. We take a solemn vow at this World Peace Conference to do our part from our respective vantage points to advance the causes of peace and social inclusion, fundamental rights and freedoms, and sustainable development. We take note of the call for continuation of this initiative by Bangladesh to spread the message of peace and friendship to a wider global audience, including by creating a platform to bring the participants together. We thank the government and people of Bangladesh for their gracious hospitality and for rallying us around their shared ideas and vision for peace. Unquote. And with that note, it is a distinct honor for me to declare the Dhaka Peace Declaration 2021 adopted. Excellencies, it is hoped that all eminent scholars and global leaders attending the conference will continue the conversation. Dhaka Peace Declaration 2021 will serve as a milestone and guiding star in paving the way forward in our journey ahead in promoting sustainable peace in the world. Thank you for your attention. May Bangladesh live forever.
Thank Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Excellencies, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I have the honor and privilege to invite the chief guest of today's occasion, Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina, Honorable Prime Minister of the Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, to kindly deliver her speech.
বিসমুল্লাহির রহমানির রহিম। বিশ্ব শান্তি সম্মেলনের সভাপতি মাননীয় স্পিকার ডক্টর শিন শারমিন চৌধুরী, সদস্য সচিব সাইমা ওয়াজেদ পুতুল, রাষ্ট্রদূত হোসেন হাক্কানি, মান্যবর ইরিনা বোকাবো, মান্যবর গো চোখ, সহকর্মীবৃন্দ, সম্মানিত অতিথিবৃন্দ, ভদ্র মহিলা ও মহোদয়গণ, আসসালামু আলাইকুম, শুভ অপরাহ্ন। শুরুতে আমি আপনাদের শান্তি ও সম্প্রীতি বাংলাদেশে স্বাগত জানাই। আমাদের জাতির পিতা বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিবুর রহমানের জন্মশতবার্ষিকী এবং আমাদের স্বাধীনতার সুবর্ণ জয়ন্তী উপলক্ষে আয়োজিত বিশ্ব শান্তি সম্মেলন 2021-এর সমাপনী অনুষ্ঠানে যুক্ত হতে পেরে আমি অত্যন্ত আনন্দিত। ডিসেম্বর মাস আমাদের বিজয়ের মাস। আমি গভীর শ্রদ্ধার সাথে স্মরণ করছি সর্বকালের সর্বশ্রেষ্ঠ বাঙালি জাতির পিতা বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিবুর রহমানকে। আমি শ্রদ্ধা জানাই 30 লক্ষ শহীদ, 2 লক্ষ মা বোনকে। জাতির পিতার দূরদর্শী ও বলিষ্ঠ নেতৃত্বে আমরা পাকিস্তানি দখলদার বাহিনীর বিরুদ্ধে 9 মাস রক্তক্ষয়ী সংগ্রামের পর 1971 সালের 16 ডিসেম্বর চূড়ান্ত বিজয় অর্জন করি। আমি স্মরণ করছি আমাদের সকল শহীদ এবং বীর মুক্তিযোদ্ধাদের সালাম জানাই। যে সকল মা বোন তাদের সব ধরনের ত্যাগ স্বীকার করেছেন আমাদের জন্য, সেই 30 লক্ষ শহীদের সাথে সাথে 2 লক্ষ মা বোনের প্রতিও আমি আমার শ্রদ্ধা জানাচ্ছি। আমি অত্যন্ত বেদনার সঙ্গে স্মরণ করছি 15ই আগস্ট ঘাতকের নির্মম বুলেটে নিহত হয়েছেন আমার বাবা, তৎকালীন রাষ্ট্রপতি জাতির পিতা বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিব, আমার মা বেগম ফজিলাতুন্নেসা মুজিব, আমার 3 ভাই মুক্তিযোদ্ধা ক্যাপ্টেন শেখ কামাল, মুক্তিযোদ্ধা লেফটেন্যান্ট শেখ জামাল এবং আমার 10 বছরের ছোট ভাইটি শেখ রাসেল, 2 ভাতৃবধূ এবং একমাত্র চাচা মুক্তিযোদ্ধা শেখ আবু নাসের সহ একই সাথে 18 জন সদস্য। আমি তাদের সকলের বিধেয় আত্মার মাগফিরাত কামনা করছি। উপস্থিত সম্মানিত অতিথিবৃন্দ, জাতির পিতার শান্তি দর্শন ছিল অত্যন্ত সুদূর প্রসারী এবং স্থায়ী শান্তি চেতনার প্রশস্ত মহাসড়ক। তিনি প্রমাণ করেছেন যে সকল বঞ্চনা, বৈষম্য, শোষণের শৃঙ্খল তথা পরাধীনতা থেকে মুক্তি এবং ক্ষুধা দারিদ্র্যের অবসানপূর্বক সমৃদ্ধি অর্জনের মাধ্যমেই তা কেবলমাত্র নির্মাণ সম্ভব। এছাড়াও তিনি বিশ্ব শান্তি অটুট রাখতে যুদ্ধ বিগ্রহের পরিসমাপ্তি এবং অস্ত্র প্রতিযোগিতা বন্ধ করে জোট নিরপেক্ষ নীতি গ্রহণ এবং বন্ধুত্বপূর্ণ সম্পর্ক স্থাপনের উপর বিশেষ গুরুত্ব আরোপ করতেন। 1947 সালে পাকিস্তান সৃষ্টির পর পূর্ব বাংলার জনগণের উপর উর্দু একটা বিজাতীয় ভাষা, রাষ্ট্রভাষা হিসেবে চাপিয়ে দেওয়ার চেষ্টা হয়। তখন তরুণ নেতা শেখ মুজিব এর প্রতিবাদ করেন এবং বাংলাকে রাষ্ট্রভাষা হিসেবে প্রতিষ্ঠা করবার আন্দোলন গড়ে তোলেন, আর এই আন্দোলন করতে গিয়ে বারবার কারাবরণ করেন। দীর্ঘ কারাবাসের পর 1952 সালে 27 ফেব্রুয়ারি তিনি মুক্তি পান। একই বছর তিনি বেইজিংয়ে অনুষ্ঠিত এশীয় প্রশান্ত মহাসাগরীয় শান্তি সম্মেলনে যোগ দেন। প্রথম বাঙালি হিসেবে বিদেশের মাটিতে বাংলায় তিনি বক্তৃতা করেন। তার রচিত নিউ চায়না, বাংলায় আমার দেখা নয় চীন, এই বইয়ের প্রথম পাতায় তিনি কমিউনিস্টদের শান্তি সম্মেলনে যোগদানের ব্যাখ্যা দিয়েছেন এভাবে, আমি কোট করছি, দুনিয়ার যারাই শান্তি চায় তাদের শান্তি সম্মেলনে আমরা যোগদান করতে রাজি। রাশিয়া হোক, আমেরিকা হোক, ব্রিটেন হোক, চীন হোক, যেই শান্তির জন্য সংগ্রাম করবে তাদের সাথে আমরা সহস্র কণ্ঠে আওয়াজ তুলতে রাজি আছি, আমরা শান্তি চাই। আনকোট। দীর্ঘ 24.5 বছর পূর্ব বাংলার জনগণের ন্যায়সঙ্গত অধিকার আদায়ের সকল গণতান্ত্রিক আন্দোলন সহ স্বাধীনতা সংগ্রামে বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিব নেতৃত্ব দিয়েছেন। কিন্তু অত্যন্ত পরিতাপের বিষয়, পরাধীনতার শৃঙ্খল থেকে মুক্ত হতে 30 লাখ বীর শহীদদের জীবন দিতে হয়েছে, 2 লাখ মা বোনদের সম্ভ্রম বিসর্জন দিতে হয়েছে। জাতিপিতা সদ্য স্বাধীন দেশ পুনর্গঠনের পাশাপাশি এদেশের মানুষকে স্বাবলম্বী করার সংগ্রামে আত্মনিয়োগ করেন। দ্রুত অর্থনৈতিক প্রবৃদ্ধি অর্জন করে প্রমাণ করেন বাংলাদেশের জনগণ নিজেদের ভাগ্য নিজেরাই করে তুলতে পারে। দুর্ভাগ্য, স্বাধীনতার পর তিনি মাত্র 3.5 বছর সময় পেয়েছিলেন। 1975 15 আগস্ট খুনিরা জাতিপিতাকে হত্যা করেই ক্ষান্ত হয়নি, তারা ইন্ডেমনিটি দিয়ে দেশে বিচারহীনতার সংস্কৃতিও চালু করেছিলেন। স্বাধীনতার পর তিনি মাত্র 9 মাসেই একটা সংবিধান প্রণয়ন করেন। সেই সংবিধানের 25 অনুচ্ছেদে উল্লেখ রয়েছে, কোড, আন্তর্জাতিক শান্তি, নিরাপত্তা ও সংহতির উন্নয়ন, আনকোড। এর ক্ষেত্রে বন্ধুত্বকে রেখেছেন আমাদের পররাষ্ট্রনীতির কেন্দ্রবিন্দুতে। অর্থাৎ তিনি যে বিশ্ব শান্তিতে বিশ্বাস করতেন সেটা আমাদের সংবিধানে তিনি উল্লেখ করেছেন। এবং আন্তর্জাতিক ক্ষেত্রে পারস্পরিক শ্রদ্ধা, আভ্যন্তরীণ বিষয়ে হস্তক্ষেপ না করা, আন্তর্জাতিক আইন ও জাতিসংঘের সনদকে পররাষ্ট্রনীতির ভিত্তি হিসেবে গ্রহণ করেছেন। সেই সঙ্গে শক্তি প্রয়োগ পরিহার, সম্পূর্ণ নিরস্ত্রীকরণ, নিজ নিজ আর্থসামাজিক রাজনৈতিক ব্যবস্থা নির্ধারণ এবং সাম্রাজ্যবাদ, উপনিবেশিকতাবাদ বা বর্ণবাদের বিরুদ্ধে বিশ্বের সর্বত্র নিপীড়িত জনগণের ন্যায়সঙ্গত সংগ্রামকে তিনি সমর্থন দিয়েছেন। জাতির পিতা বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিব দেশের নিপীড়িত নির্যাতিত মানুষ অধিকার প্রতিষ্ঠার মাধ্যমে বিশ্ব শান্তিতে বিশেষ অবদানের জন্য 1972 সালের 10 অক্টোবর ফিনল্যান্ডের হেলসিঙ্কিতে এক ঘোষণার মাধ্যমে জুলিও কুরি পদকের জন্য মনোনীত হন। 1973 সালে 23 মে ঢাকায় অনুষ্ঠিত সেই পদক গ্রহণ অনুষ্ঠানে তিনি এক ভাষণ দেন। সেই ভাষণের থেকে কিছু অংশ আমি কোট করছি। কোট, আমি 1952 সালে পিকিংয়ে প্রথম এশীয় প্রশান্ত মহাসাগরীয় শান্তি সম্মেলন এবং 1956 সালে স্টকহোমে বিশ্ব শান্তি সম্মেলনে যোগদান করতে পারায় গর্বিত বোধ করছি। এখানে উল্লেখ করতে চাই, বিশ্ব শান্তি আমার জীবন দর্শনের অন্যতম মূল নীতি। আমি সব সময় পৃথিবীর যে কোনো প্রান্তে নিপীড়িত, শোষিত, শান্তিকামী, মুক্তিকামী মানুষের পাশে ছিলাম। আমরা বিশ্বের সর্বত্রই শান্তি স্থাপন করতে চাই। আমরা বিশ্ব শান্তিকে একটি মজবুত ভিত্তির উপর দাঁড় করাতে চাই। আনকোট। তিনি সাম্প্রদায়িকতা ও সন্ত্রাসবাদের বিরুদ্ধে সবসময় সোচ্চার ছিলেন। 1974 সালের 15 ডিসেম্বর জাতীয় দিবস উপলক্ষে জাতির উদ্দেশ্যে এক ভাষণ দেন। সেই ভাষণে বলেছিলেন, কোড, সন্ত্রাসবাদের মাধ্যমে জনগণের কোনো কল্যাণ বা কোনো সমস্যার সমাধান হয় না। এ পন্থা বিশ্বের বিভিন্ন স্থানে বহু আগে প্রত্যাখ্যাত হয়েছে। বাংলাদেশের মাটিতে সাম্প্রদায়িকতার স্থান নেই। মুসলমান, হিন্দু, বৌদ্ধ, খ্রিস্টান বাংলাদেশে যারা বাস করেন তারা সকলেই এদেশের নাগরিক। প্রতিটি ক্ষেত্রে তারা সম অধিকার ভোগ করবেন। আনকোট। জাতির পিতা বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিব 1974 সালে বাংলাদেশের সমুদ্র সীমানা নির্ধারণ এবং এ সম্পদের শান্তিপূর্ণ ব্যবহার নিশ্চিত করার জন্য দি টেরিটোরিয়াল ওয়াটার্স অ্যান্ড মেরিটাইম জোনস অ্যাক্ট প্রণয়ন করেন। তিনি 1975 সালে 5 মে জ্যামাইকার কিংস্টনে কমনওয়েলথ শীর্ষ সম্মেলনে যোগ দেন। সেখানে যে ভাষণ দেন সেই ভাষণে তিনি বলেন, আমি কোট করছি, আমরা দক্ষিণ পূর্ব এশিয়াকে নিরপেক্ষকরণের ধারণা এবং ভারত মহাসাগরকে শান্তি অঞ্চল হিসেবে ঘোষণাকে সমর্থন করে যাচ্ছি। এই অঞ্চলে সামরিক ঘাঁটি গড়ে তোলা এবং ক্ষমতা প্রতিযোগিতাকে উৎসাহিত করার মতো দুঃখজনক প্রবণতার বদলে সমুদ্র তীরবর্তী রাষ্ট্রগুলোকে শান্তি প্রতিষ্ঠা জোরদার করতে আরও সমন্বিত ভূমিকা পালন করার আহ্বান জানাই। আনকোট। প্রিয় সুধী, দীর্ঘ 21 বছরের সংগ্রাম ও আত্মত্যাগের মাধ্যমে আমরা 1996 সালে জনগণের ভোটে নির্বাচিত হয়ে সরকার গঠন করি। একই বছর 12ই নভেম্বর দেশে আইনের শাসন প্রতিষ্ঠার মাধ্যমে বিচারহীনতা সংস্কৃতি নিরসন করতে ইনডেমনিটি অধ্যাদেশ বাতিল করি, জাতির পিতার হত্যার বিচার শুরু করি। 1997 সালের 2 ডিসেম্বর পার্বত্য চট্টগ্রামের পাহাড়ি উপজাতিদের সঙ্গে রক্তক্ষয়ী সংঘর্ষের অবসান ঘটিয়ে শান্তি চুক্তি স্বাক্ষর করি। 1997 সালে আমরাই প্রথম জাতিসংঘে শান্তির সংস্কৃতি বিকাশের কর্মসূচি গ্রহণের লক্ষ্যে একটি প্রস্তাব উত্থাপন করি এবং যা 1999 সালের 13ই সেপ্টেম্বর গৃহীত হয়। সে অনুযায়ী জাতিসংঘ 2000 সালকে শান্তির সংস্কৃতির আন্তর্জাতিক বছর এবং 2001 থেকে 2010কে শান্তির সংস্কৃতি ও অহিংস দশক হিসেবে ঘোষণা করে। আমরা 2008 সালের নির্বাচনে জয়লাভের পর জাতির পিতার হত্যাকারীদের বিচারের রায় কার্যকর করি, আন্তর্জাতিক অপরাধ ট্রাইব্যুনাল প্রতিষ্ঠা করে যুদ্ধ অপরাধীদের বিচার শুরু করি। আমাদের প্রতিবেশী দেশ ভারত ও মিয়ানমারের সাথে সমুদ্র সীমা বৃহৎ আন্তর্জাতিক আদালতের মাধ্যমে মীমাংসা করি। জাতিসংঘ সর্বোচ্চ শান্তিরক্ষী প্রেরণকারী দেশ হিসেবে আমরা গর্ববোধ করি। আমরা জঙ্গিবাদ সন্ত্রাসবাদের বিরুদ্ধে শূন্য সহনশীলতা নীতি গ্রহণ করেছি। আঞ্চলিক ও আন্তর্জাতিক শান্তিপূর্ণ পরিবেশ বজায় রাখতে আমরা সংশ্লিষ্ট সংস্থাগুলোর সঙ্গে নিবিড়ভাবে কাজ করে যাচ্ছি। আর্থসামাজিক উন্নয়নে বাংলাদেশ এখন বিশ্বে রোল মডেল। আমরা এসডিজি প্রোগ্রেস অ্যাওয়ার্ড পেয়েছি। আমরা বিদ্যুৎ, যোগাযোগ, তথ্য প্রযুক্তি ও কৃষি ক্ষেত্রে বিপ্লব ঘটিয়েছি। দেশের অর্থনীতিকে শক্ত ভিতের উপর প্রতিষ্ঠিত আমরা করেছি। করোনা মহামারীর প্রতিঘাত নিরসনে 1,87,679 কোটি টাকা আমরা প্রণোদনা দিয়েছি। আমরা স্বল্পোন্নত দেশ থেকে উন্নয়নশীল দেশে উন্নীত হয়েছি। আমাদের অর্থনীতির আকার এখন বৃদ্ধি পেয়ে 411 বিলিয়ন মার্কিন ডলার, মাথাপিছু আয় 2,554 মার্কিন ডলার। রূপকল্প 2041 বাস্তবায়নের লক্ষ্যে এসডিজি 2030-এর সঙ্গে সমন্বয় করে আমরা 20 বছর মেয়াদে দ্বিতীয় প্রেক্ষিত পরিকল্পনা গ্রহণ করেছি। সেই লক্ষ্যকে সামনে রেখে আমরা 8ম পঞ্চবার্ষিক পরিকল্পনা বাস্তবায়ন করতে শুরু করেছি। আমরা বাংলাদেশ বদ্বীপ পরিকল্পনা 2100 বাস্তবায়ন করছি। বাংলাদেশ অপ্রতিরোধ্য গতিতে এগিয়ে যাচ্ছে। আগামী প্রজন্মের জন্য জাতির পিতা বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিবের স্বপ্নে আত্মমর্যাদাশীল, উন্নত এবং সমৃদ্ধ সোনার বাংলাদেশ বিনির্মাণে আমরা প্রতিশ্রুতিবদ্ধ। সম্মানিত অতিথিবৃন্দ, স্বাধীনতার জন্য আমরা সর্বোচ্চ ত্যাগ স্বীকার করেছি এবং এর মধ্য দিয়ে শান্তির মূল্য এবং সমগ্র মানব জাতির গভীরতম আকাঙ্ক্ষাসমূহ অনুধাবন করেছি। বরাবরের মতো ফিলিস্তিনের জনগণের ন্যায্য দাবির পক্ষে আমাদের অবিচল সমর্থন থাকবে। সম্পদের সীমাবদ্ধতা সত্ত্বেও আমরা 11 লাখের অধিক মিয়ানমারের রোহিঙ্গা গোষ্ঠীকে সাময়িক আশ্রয় দিয়েছি। ফলে ওই অঞ্চলে একটি বড় ধরনের মানবিক বিপর্যয় এড়ানো সম্ভব হয়েছে। রোহিঙ্গাদের তাদের নিজ মাতৃভূমিতে প্রত্যাবাসনের জন্য আমরা শান্তিপূর্ণ কূটনৈতিক তৎপরতা চালিয়ে যাচ্ছি। গত 2 বছর ধরে করোনা ভাইরাস মহামারী পুরো বিশ্ব ব্যবস্থাকে এক নতুন সংকটের মুখোমুখি করেছে। এই সংকট প্রমাণ করেছে যে আমরা কেউই আলাদা নই। শান্তিপূর্ণভাবে এই পৃথিবীতে বসবাস করতে হলে অংশীদারিত্বের ভিত্তিতে একটা জবাবদিহিমূলক বিশ্ব ব্যবস্থা গড়ে তোলার কোনো বিকল্প নেই। জাতির পিতা বঙ্গবন্ধু শেখ মুজিবুর রহমানের শান্তির আদর্শকে পুরোপুরি ধারণ করে পারস্পরিক শ্রদ্ধাবোধ ও সমঝোতার ভিত্তিতে সকলের সঙ্গে কাজ করার জন্য বাংলাদেশ সদা প্রস্তুত রয়েছে। বিশ্বের এই চরম সংকটময় সময়ে আমি অস্ত্র প্রতিযোগিতায় সম্পদ ব্যয় না করে তা সার্বজনীন টেকসই উন্নয়ন অর্জনে ব্যবহার করার আহ্বান জানাই। আসুন আমরা সার্বজনীন শান্তির জন্য প্রতিজ্ঞাবদ্ধ হয়ে কর্মযজ্ঞে নেমে পড়ি। অনেক কষ্ট করে যারা আমাদের দেশে এসেছেন বাংলাদেশে, তাদেরকে আন্তরিক ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি, স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি এবং আমি জাতির পিতার জন্মশতবার্ষিকী ও স্বাধীনতার সুবর্ণ জয়ন্তী উপলক্ষে আয়োজিত বিশ্ব শান্তি সম্মেলনের সমাপনী ঘোষণা করছি। জয় বাংলা, জয় বঙ্গবন্ধু। বাংলাদেশ বিশ্বে শান্তি বিরাজ করুক, সারা বিশ্বে শান্তি বিরাজ করুক। আপনাদের সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, next there will be a performance by Renessa with the children of